not only are they attacking our men, they're attacking our breeders too. My breeding stock. They're essential to our reproduction. They're attacking us. In the eggs. So here on this channel, we talk a lot about oppression. We talk a lot about white people. We talk a lot about black people. We talk about all of these certain things, right? And we talk a lot about conservatives. That's not going to be changing here. But I would like to tell you something that's incredibly interesting. For a while, we've been talking a lot about where the right has been, where the right has gone, and where the right is going in this country. And it's something that I would like, and it's something that I continue to harp on. And some people, I think, imagine that the way in which I talk about, even if you watch the channel and everything, may think that I'm a little bit biased when it comes to the way that I talk about things. Because, I mean, let's be honest, controversy does sell. And my job is to make YouTube videos that people will watch. And one of the big things that people will watch is, you know, something crazy happening. But I would like to tell you, to dissuade any of those feelings that I may be a little bit biased in the way that I talk about these things or inflating things to be more than they are. I would like to disprove that typically by showing you exactly what I mean. And when it comes to a lot of the right, it's hard to exaggerate what they say and what they believe, because typically when I say that they say something, I can pull up a clip of them actually saying it. I can pull up a clip of them saying the thing that I said that they do, believing the thing that I say that they believe, without having to make any other like moves myself. It's a little difficult sometimes, specifically because I can't be as funny, because I can't really make up a joke because they say the joke before me. They're kind of stealing my style. They're crapping my style here. But at least it's good for illustrating what and who these people really are. And now, what am I building up to, right, when it comes to this? Because I typically don't start off these types of conversations like this. I'm talking a little bit of a guy, you maybe have heard of him before, but Tucker Carlson. Tucker, for a long time, has been going more and more and more and more insane when it comes to the things that he said, the things that he does, and the things that he calls for on his channel. With that being said, I've typically been able to pull up clips of him saying things that are horribly insane. But today is going to be a little bit different in the sense of I don't have to make any analogies. I don't have to say that he's hiding literally anything, because he just says it here out loud. And I can explain what more he's going to say, but I think it's better for you to hear it yourself.
More than 500,000 Tutsis were murdered, in many cases by Hutus whose rage had been stoked to violence by RTLM's broadcasts. Entire Tutsi families were dragged from their homes and hacked to death with machetes. Hundreds of thousands of women were raped. The world watched in horror as it happened, but did nothing to intervene. Instead, our leaders told us at the time, the genocide in Rwanda would live forever as a lesson to the rest of us about the capacity for evil that lurks inside every human heart and the dangers of reducing our neighbors to the sum total of their ethnicity.
Now, this sounds like something that I would start out talking about, because, as weird as it is, see all the conservatives kind of touching on the same things that broadcast and the Hutu radio stations did back before the Rwandan genocide. A lot of people don't, and it's really curious because he did miss one really big thing when it came to the Rwandan genocide. For one, white supremacy that played a massive role in the Rwandan genocide, and two, hate speech. Those two things played a massive role in the Rwandan genocide, and he's just skipping past both of them without talking about either. I wonder why that is. Let's see what he has to say.
They're individuals, not ethnic groups. Bill Clinton gave an eloquent speech actually on the subject in Kigali back in 1998. Look it up and ask yourself as you read it if any Democratic Party official could today say those same words. It's hard to imagine given what plays on a loop on that party's cable news arm, MSNBC. Have you watched MSNBC lately? Likely you haven't. Like the Tutsis, you're not the target audience, but you should tune in sometime. It's remarkable. Given that opposing racism is America's national religion, it may surprise you to learn that open race hate forms much of the substance of that channel's programming.
Wild. It's like he's reading off exactly like a word for word description of his own channel, and then he's just now projecting all of it onto MSNBC and Rachel Maddow, and specifically one black woman who he who he hates her guts, and it says, and he's going to now make the argument, wants to bring white genocide to America. Wants to bring up a new American genocide, only this time they kill white people. Let's see.
And when we say race hate, we're not referring to the subtle coded variety. You want border security? You're giving your kids piano lessons? You like Shakespeare? You believe in the SAT? You must be a racist. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the kind of race hate you cannot mistake for anything else. The kind where people just come out and announce, I hate this race of people, and here's why I do.
And that's crazy. Protect the border, bro. Listen, when we're torturing people, and listen, when we make proposals that there should be miniguns on all of the border walls and they just mow down immigrants coming over the border like like you're playing an anti-zombie horde game. Hey, listen, that's not racism. Come on, man. But listen, man, when I say that Iraqis are semi-literate primitive monkeys, in quote, that's not racism. But hey, listen, this definitely is.
It's hard to believe that anything like that is happening right now on American television, but it is, out in the open. And the most amazing and the most creepy part of all is that no one is saying anything about it. It's all but ignored. And honestly, we had no idea it was going on either until we started getting texts from people. Are you watching this? Can you believe this? So we tuned in. Apparently on the left, what you're about to see is considered completely normal. Fixated on.
And they've never had white people.
Here's a selection.
Many of us have seen the dangers when powerful white people decide they want something, they annex it. And they've never had a problem replacing the people who stand in their way.
We see American white people are going crazy. They're resorting to violence.
This is literally what conservative white folks do when they don't get their way. They turn violent.
White people deputizing themselves in some position of authority to have jurisdiction over their life when they need to mind their blanking business.
I don't think it's our responsibility to be tasked with destroying and dismantling the racial oppression that's against us. That's just saying we're more at fault than the white people who constructed this system and the white people who continue to practice institutional racism.
A majority of white people do not support policies that would unpack and unroll and reform this system of justice. This is what they want. Matt Gaetz is giving the white folks what they want.
White replacement can strangle culture. So yes, we should all be concerned about white replacement. It is, after all, a very threat to our survival here.
He's scared. He's genuinely shocked by all of this. Just so you know, nothing wrong was said. And if you believe something wrong was said and you're watching this, come debate. You can come on stream anytime to come debate this. Literally nothing wrong was said here. I thought there were going to be some things that I was going to have to explain a little bit, but literally everything here is simple. Is a simple understanding of just racism, how it's been fomented, and what it means, and the group of people it's in the group of people as a group that's been put into. Now, it's very strange how a lot of these conservatives will talk about black people, black culture, black people do this, black people do that as a group. But now, because Tucker Carlson has done this a lot, okay? When I say a lot, I mean a lot. I mean, as I showed you there himself. He believes that Iraqis are this. He describes Iraqis as semi-literate primitive monkeys in past comment made on Bubba the Love Sponge radio show, according to new recordings by Media Matters. He says they don't behave like human beings. And he said he has zero sympathy for Iraqis or their culture. A May 2006 discussion of the Iraq War, in a popular show. A culture where people don't use toilets. Where people just don't use toilet paper or forks, Carlson said. I think what Iraqis should just shut the fuck up and obey the US because they can't govern themselves. In the 2009 episode, Carlson also proclaimed that Afghanistan would never be a civilized country because the people aren't civilized. So, Now, can we just take a moment and take a deep think about? Can we just take a moment and take a deep think about the type of language that Tucker Carlson used and those people on Twitter, those people on MSNBC used? Let's be honest with ourselves for a moment. White people were, and to a degree still are, the dominant group here. And well, I say a degree because we can talk about that. Things have changed since 1960 and like earlier. Be honest with ourselves. Yeah, more like Bubba the Hate Sponge. Am I right? Anyways, things have changed since 1960, but 1960 going on, redlining, all of these things were absolutely enacted by white people, specifically white people and specifically white racist people. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Of what happened. I just think it's incredibly curious how when we talk about that, people like Tucker Carlson and others simply, they think in their head, the first thing they think is, oh, you think white people are somehow evil or like cursed or something, or have like a genetic deficiency that makes them this, that, or the third. It's weird how that's the first thing that they think up, right? Maybe it's because that's what they think about other people, as this clip shows, and many other clips from Tucker Carlson's show. Maybe that's because that's the way he thinks about other people, and so he can't imagine somebody coming at this from a lens of, oh, it's a bad thing that a group believes, and not the bad group is bad because they are. It's very strange how that works out. It's like this whole entire clip is simply just projecting. Let's watch a little bit more.
Is there anything worse than white people? They're violent. They're heartless. They're cruel. They're deranged. They're secretive. They're dishonest. In fact, as you just heard Tiffany Cross say, white people are a mortal danger to you and your loved ones. They threaten your life. Are they poisoning the wells? Are they baking bread with the blood of your children? If not, according to Tiffany Cross and MSNBC, they're fully capable of doing those things. They've certainly done worse.
So he's actually just he's gone insane. He's lost it. I mean, I mean, in this country, like, whiteness is very ingrained in this country. Let's be honest with ourselves. Again, there are people who are living today who did not have the right to vote because they were not white. These are factual things in the world, and to say that racism, poof, vanished and is just now gone is just not true. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. It's just factually untrue. And what they're doing now is they're taking a tragedy like the Rwandan genocide that was made largely in part by whiteness to hamper the growth and the lives of black people in Africa. The reason why the Rwandan genocide happened, there are many reasons because of it, but one of the big reasons was because Europeans came over and to help them enslave and use Africa and all of its resources, they basically helped politically institute a hierarchy of lighter skinned people were better and got more money and had more privilege, and darker skinned people were cringe, right? And even though it was slightly there, it exacerbated to basically everything, and there was no way to possibly get out of it when the Europeans came and did that. That's a big reason why the Rwandan genocide happened. Hate fermented, and then since there was the lighter skinned black people were a lot less in pure numbers, same with like South Africa, hate fermented, hate started to build until something broke, and radio stations were doing exactly what Tucker's doing, calling for violence or implying that there should be some violence. Now, we've talked about Tucker clips a lot, okay? He does exactly what he's trying to criticize here. A lot more than MSNBC does. The only reason he's calling this out now is because he doesn't like it when you say things about white people as a group. He doesn't like it. It makes him upset. But listen, everybody else is fair game. Women, fair game. I mean, come on. So it's not like he's above this type of language. The only problem is he's the only one doing it. And people are simply responding with talking about ideology some groups can hold.
This is Hutu Radio. But it's not an independent radio station in an African country. It's part of one of the biggest news organizations in the world.
Also, the person who was Also one of the biggest people who were a part of Hutu Radio was an incredibly rich, incredibly powerful woman who was the wife of the president of the country. But okay.
Part of the biggest telecommunications company in the United States, Comcast, which owns it. So you have to ask yourself, what does Comcast board think of this? Comcast board is mostly white people who, according to the channel they own, decided they wanted something, then they annexed it. White people who steal because they're white. White people who could, quote, turn to violence when they don't get their way.
Hey, you ever heard of January 6th? But whatever, I guess they don't. He just doesn't understand. Like, speaking about groups, he just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand how this is possible. And I mean, this has been around for a long time, that he just does not believe that racism against black people and minorities exist broadly. He doesn't believe in institutional racism. He believes Democrats hate black people. He just loves white people. Okay.
White people are going crazy, endangering their communities.
This meme is very real.
So you have to ask yourself, why are they putting this on the air? Why are they allowing this?
Another big thing is that white supremacy is big. It is a problem. Have we already forgotten about like, not only like the riot at the Capitol, something even more specifically white, the Unite the Right rally, the Charlottesville rally that literally killed somebody. What about all of what about all of these specifically white and specifically racist organizations around the country looking to overturn elections, looking to kill people, looking to maim people? This is true. And it has something to do with like racism in America that is specifically white. Doesn't mean that white people are like intrinsically bad. Once again, yes, the Buffalo shooting. Have we forgotten about all of the racist shootings that have happened? I know he never cared. But it's always easy to... So when it comes to these people, if you ever wondered why this happens, it's very easy. So when these people do something, okay? Specifically, when Tucker Carlson thinks about this, there's two things, okay? A white person, like white people and non-white people, they're in two separate parts of his mind. White people, it's incredibly easy when one of them does something, it doesn't really mean anything broader. It doesn't really mean anything broader when it comes to interpersonal issues in and around that community or adjacent communities that have similar like conditioning growing up. They're very lone wolf. They're all lone wolves. Every racist shooting is a lone wolf shooting. Every racist person is a lone wolf person. It's just like literally just one. There's no connection between any of this. There's no connection to like the broader population at all. It doesn't have anything to do with like the way in which we run our society. Nothing. But when brown people do it, now those are Iraqis, all of them are so primitive. Now these black people are so uppity, and look at them, they're violent. What are they doing? Now all these Democrats are trying to kill your children and rip off their pee-pee. Would you look at this? Now everybody who he doesn't like works in groups against them. The real individuals. But it can never possibly be opposite. It's very, they are the individuals. Everybody else is the hive mind degenerate.
This is not a policy debate. These are open attacks on people, on Americans, on the basis purely of their race. And that's just a selection. We could go on and on and on. Are they aware that this is happening? Perhaps they're not. We weren't, to be fair. But it is happening day after day after day after day. Across an MSNBC.
Let's watch this.
Look, a lot of folks in that Capitol insurrection, some of these folks were white women. And I know we're talking a lot about oath keepers and proud boys, but I do think that some of the white women who have adopted this ideology, is America ready to face the fact that some of those folks look like people they have elevated and put on a pedestal of being untouchable? What do you say about this wing of white women who have been radicalized and are enablers to this very dangerous domestic terrorism movement that we've seen increase quite rapidly?
Nothing wrong was said there. Literally nothing wrong was said there. Nothing. And honestly, wait, actually, you know what? I was going to speak, but I think what would be better is I can speak after Tucker's response, because you may not even guess what his response is, and I can tell you it's incredible.
So it's not just whites, it's white women. Their women are bad too. And women, of course, are the key to reproducing the white race, which is clearly a threat, as she says again and again, to you and your family.
Not only are they attacking our men, they're attacking our breeders too. My breeding stock. They're essential to our reproduction. They're attacking us. In the eggs. Not the egg. Yo, I got any white girls in chat? Shout out to the white girls in chat. Congratulations, reproducing the white race. I'm proud of you. You do such a good job. We must reproduce the white race. We must grow. Yo, shout out to our heifers. They're attacking the key to our reproduction. I mean, you see this a lot in like really weirdo racist white spaces. Is the weird attack on white women, okay? They hate white women. I've noticed this in a lot of conservative spaces, especially far right spaces. Their far right's discontent with white women has been growing exponentially these couple years, and it's incredibly interesting to watch because they talk about how important white women are to their breeding and how white women need to, you know, buckle down and start breeding because we're suffering out here and we hate it out here. It's not good for us. None of us boys can breed. They won't let us breed. I can't believe they've done this. They're the key to our breeding. Because like a lot of women generally lean more left than men do generally. And so a lot of white women aren't on board with a lot of like conservative, crazy right-wing shit. A lot of it is because, you know, a lot of them don't really have that many great views on women generally. This is where like the whole like right-wing love for like Asian women came up for, because they think Asian women are far more attuned to their womanly like nature, and they're way more quiet and they're way more submissive, and they don't dye their hair or get nose piercings as cringe lefty women do these days, which is destroying the white race or whatever. And they look white enough, so if they're able to have a baby, you can just kind of pretend that they're white with like some Asian features anyways, right? I mean, you've seen a lot of them do this. Okay, remember when we were looking at Fuentes when he was like going off on women? Remember when we watched that when he was talking to Sydney Watson, and he was like, women are cringe, women are fucking stupid, and she was like, have you ever dated a woman before? And he's like, nah, but like white women are really holding us down, right? And then there's Doyle as well, who has some really weird shit to say about women, specifically white women, and how they're holding the white race down, and how they're not letting us breed, and how they're not letting them do like this, that, and the third. It is very weird. They've always hated it. Like even Queen of the Nazis herself, Lauren Southern, had to leave the alt-right because they were really mean to women. That a lot of women are like alt-right women are like, I love the ideology, but you guys are just really mean to me. It's just so incredibly curious how these people are helping build the meat grinder that they're going to be thrown into soon. It's incredible. But this is their new ploy, okay? This is their new toy that they're going to be running with, which is the anti-white racism. And if you think this is simply just isolated to Fox News, let me show you something, because this is what was playing on TV when somebody was just trying to watch normal cable news.
When did racism against white people become okay? Joe Biden put white people last in line for COVID relief funds. Kamala Harris said disaster aid should go to non-white citizens first. Liberal politicians block access to medicine based on skin color. Progressive corporations, airlines, universities all openly discriminate against white Americans.
So somebody in chat was correct. So I see we're just lying now. Yeah, we have gone to the point where we are just simply lying. We are simply just lying. This is where we've gone. Whites may not be eligible for antibodies and antivirals while non-whites are. This is insane. This is an insane quote. This is an insane false quote. Yeah, crack pipe. They're just smoking crack now these days. Kamala Harris's non-white citizens first. Once again, Daily Wire. What does Daily Wire think about all this like weird white victim complex lying that's going on? The airlines. The airlines. Listen, if white people are not getting antibodies, all right, the reason is probably because that they were listening to Donald Trump and they didn't get their COVID vaccine shots, okay? That's the reason why a lot of white people are not getting antibodies, not because they weren't eligible to get them. That's not true. That's just simply not true. Yeah, you're white, L plus ratio.
Skin color. Progressive corporations, airlines, universities all openly discriminate against white Americans.
Look at all these sad
Racism is always wrong. The left's anti-white bigotry must stop.
Stop left-wing racism. Wait, so you're telling me, so what's right-wing racism? What's right-wing racism again? You said this is left-wing, so that means that there has to be right-wing. What is that? Can somebody tell me? What is that? What is that right-wing racism? What could that possibly be? Also, I haven't seen this many sad white people since the last time I was watching late night TV infomercials, bro. Oh my goodness, where'd they get all this stock footage? Where did they get all this stock footage? Where did this ad come from? That you may be thinking to yourself, who could possibly be behind this ad? What in the world? What type of people could possibly be behind making these types of ads? Well, let me tell you, it's right here at the bottom of this political ad, at the end of this advertisement, paid for by America First Legal. Now, this is curious. America First Legal, all right? America First, Nazi ideology turned into just normie conservative ideology. Interesting. We can talk about the long history of the whole America First thing, but we don't have the time at the moment. Totally unbiased, paid for by fascism. I promise you, there's even more here under the surface than you may imagine. So I did a little bit of research to look into who possibly could be behind America First Legal. Who is it? And I found something out incredibly curious. It was this. So I found their page. Fight back against lawless executive actions and the radical left. And we can just click about leadership. And would you look at that? You know this guy? You remember this guy? You know who this guy is? This Stephen Miller? Is this name familiar? So, of course, it's Mr. Miller himself. Isn't that the Hitler guy? Yes. So, Stephen Miller, if you don't know Stephen, you guys know Stephen, like 1 in chat if you know Stephen Miller, 2 in chat if you don't. I am a little surprised if you don't know Stephen Miller. I'm lucky, I guess. Okay. There's some too. So I'll explain it here for especially the people who don't know. So Stephen Miller is, I've heard the name, but what did he do? Stephen Miller has been around for a long time. Stephen Miller is somebody who worked for Senate candidates. He's always been an incredibly big right winger, and he got his big break when he was added on to Donald Trump's cabinet as a senior advisor for the Trump administration. Prior to that, he was a senior aide to lawmakers and committees in the United States Congress. So Stephen Miller's been around for a while. And the reason why the ad reads the way he does is mostly due to Stephen Miller's ideology. Now, do you guys remember a couple of things from Donald Trump's campaign? Specifically, the really bad racism against and like bigotry against against 3 big groups of people: Hispanic people south of the border, Muslim people, and Asian people. Remember that? Those big 3 drivers were specifically from Stephen Miller. He was the person who was sitting in Trump's ear talking about that. Stephen Miller was the person who originally came up with the Muslim ban, to specifically ban Muslim people from coming into the country. Stephen Miller was one of the first people who came up with making the border wall a really big issue for the Trump campaign. And Stephen Miller wants to ban Chinese nationals from coming into the country because they think that every Chinese national is a Chinese spy here sent by Xi Jinping and the CCP to bring over Chinese communism in order to get us speaking Mandarin Chinese by the year 2070. Or I'm only exaggerating a little bit when I say that. Only a little bit. Well, the last part. Everything else is true. The last part, I'm exaggerating a tiny bit. He does actually believe that Chinese students are coming to Chinese schools in order to implant communism into the American populace. That part is true. And it is proven, yes, this is his ad. This came out not too long ago, a couple days ago. This is one of the ads that he's been pushing. When did racism against white people become okay? Right? And we can just take a quick look at this man. In the run-up to the 2016 election, White House senior policy advisor Stephen Miller promoted white nationalist literature pushed by racist immigration stories and obsessed over the loss of Confederate symbols after Dylan Roof's murderous rampage, according to leaked emails viewed by Hate Watch. So, when Dylan Roof decided to shoot up that black church, his first and most important thing that he was lamenting was not the loss of life needlessly by the hands of an insane right-wing extremist. He was mad that in the wake of that shooting, that a lot of places were taking it upon themselves to remove Confederate and white nationalist statues around the country. That's what he cared about. That's what he was upset about. On top of that, he was actually classmates with... I know, this is all gonna sound like I just put this shit together. I promise you. It's just like who this guy is. Okay? I promise you this is just who these guys is. These policies include reportedly setting arrest quotas for undocumented immigrants, executive order banning immigration from 5 Muslim countries, and policy of family separation at refugee settlement facilities that the Department of Health and Human Services was causing intense trauma for children. Also, child separation at the border. That was his thing. So if you wondered why child separation was like pushed for by Donald Trump, and was kept in for so long, Stephen Miller said that the reason why he wanted child separation to be at the border was not the explanation to the public was that it's because, these children could be getting trafficked. The real reason is because he wanted to cause suffering to the people coming across the border to make them think twice about coming here. Because if you'll never see your child again, you may think, well, maybe I'll just get killed here instead of maybe never seeing my child again and staying at a detention center for years for no reason without any legal recourse. So that's the reason why he wanted to do that. Literally, specifically just to cause suffering. The first series of emails Hate Watch exposes for the racist material that has influenced Miller's vision of policy. Source material laid out emails of Breitbart include white nationalist websites, a white genocide-themed novel in which Indian men rape white women, xenophobic conspiracy theories, and eugenics-era immigration laws that Adolf Hitler lauded in Mein Kampf. I'm not sure if I need to add more to that necessarily. He sent 900 private emails, and many were from Breitbart. Many had Breitbart in them. Well, does not converse along a wide range of topics in the emails. His focus is strikingly narrow. More than 80% of his emails Hate Watch reviewed relate to a peer or threads relating to subjects of race and immigration. Hate Watch made multiple attempts to reach the White House, but he just never responded. I'd like to scroll down a little bit. Miller sent a story from a white nationalist website, VDare, to McHugh. In 2015, the emails show, white nationalist Peter Brimlau funded VDare in 1999. The website traffics white genocide and great replacement myth. Don't tell these people that it's a myth. They hate to hear it. Camp of the Saints. Miller recommends Camp of the Saints to Breitbart. Notably, Camp of the Saints is popular among white nationalists and neo-Nazis because of the degree to which it fictionalizes the white genocide and great replacement myth into a violent and sexualized story about refugees. The novel's apocalyptic plot centers around a flotilla of Indian people who invade France, led by non-white Indian-born antagonists referred to as the Turd Eater. Okay, the loathsome dung eater. A character who literally eats human feces. In one section, a white woman is... Okay, I'm not going to read that part. Brown-skinned refugees And another, a nationalist character, shoots and kills pro-refugee leftists over his support of race mixing. The white nationalist social contact press plucked the 1973 book from relative obscurity and distributed it to the United States. Cat turd? I know, right? Give 1 second. And if you think that things just couldn't get possibly worse for this man, let's take a look at this. He re-examined his relationship to prominent figures in white nationalist movement in light of their information uncovered during the investigation in emails into Breitbart. Before entering politics, Miller was in contact with Brimlau, VDARE founder, and Richard Spencer. Went on to become arguably the most notorious white nationalist in America. Spencer helped build the right-wing movement in the Charlottesville massacre in 2017. Miller knew and interacted with these men while studying at Duke University as an undergraduate. According to the first-hand account of the email evidence, interactions between Brimlow occurred 8 years after he founded the white nationalist site VDARE. Miller and Spencer, while serving together as members of Duke's Conservative Union, politics-focused club for students, arranged for Brimlow to debate journalist and University of Organizing professor Peter Loeffler in March 2007 on Mexican immigration to the United States. Oh, Duke? Makes sense. Makes sense. So, peddles literal neo-Nazi propaganda, wants brown people to suffer and doesn't want them to come into the country, wants to ban certain groups of brown people from coming into the country, literal boyfriends with Richard Spencer, and organized with this Nazi to bring another Nazi to his school to debate why we should stop Mexicans from coming into the country. And that's what it is. And that's who this guy is. And this guy, just so you know, was in Donald Trump's cabinet and was a part of his election campaign for years. And this is the man who now agrees with Tucker Carlson that, yeah, listen, look at all this anti-white racism going around. Look at these people. Look what they're doing to us. You won't let this happen to you, will you? Maybe he wants white people to rise up. I wonder what he wants them to do. It's curious how that works out. So this is what's happening. This is what we're experiencing. Okay? An avalanche, a tide of specifically pro-white, right-wing extremism, fueled by talking heads, fueled by political organizers, and fueled by people who are looking to overturn the system to bring about and maintain and re-solidify white power in the country, specifically for the goal of not allowing other groups of people who are not white to be able to hold any position of power whatsoever and have the position for them. They don't want to be a minority. I wonder why. I wonder what's so wrong about being a minority. I wonder what would happen. Or I wonder what they think what would happen. Because, as fortunately for them, when they become a minority, because they will, brown people won't be spending all of their time worrying about enacting revenge on like your average white person. I mean, as we saw earlier today, like white people, they're so not oppressed that they even have to invent their own oppression by scrawling and doing their own vandalism, by like inventing their own like hate crimes against them. Not to say that there aren't hate crimes against white people. There are. It's real. It's really not that often as well. It really happens not that often as well, but it is real. Everything is, real to some degree in politics, at least somewhat. Yeah, revenge on the white people. People won't be looking for revenge. They're just looking to, brown people aren't looking for revenge, okay? Nothing here even that Tucker Carlson brought up was about revenge. Nobody said that, wow, we need to go get them. I can't believe they've done this. Never happened. People just want to be able to feed their kids and go to work and have time to spend it with their family. They want pets. They want to be able to not worry about their health care or their insurance or their family all the time. Like if something were to happen to them, that's what they want. They want a clean world with clean air and clean food. That's what they want. But these people couldn't care less. What they really care about is their own power, and they're willing to do anything to make sure that other people don't have even a small taste of it. Look at all the stuff they had to just make up, just lie about. to be able to get their way. If things were really so bad, then they'd be able to actually pull something up. They wouldn't have to just pull up Daily Wire articles that they misquote and lie about. Strange how that works out, isn't it? It's wild. Well, thank you, Tucker, for this. At least we know now that we don't have to worry about even making inferences or even like digging into what your words mean. Now we know exactly what your words mean. Very cool, Tucker. Literally simply just explained what racism is, and the first thing he did was think that, and the first thing he did was say that it was all anti-white. I guess being anti-racist to these people is simply being anti-white. It's strange how that works out. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. If you're enjoying the content, hit the subscribe button. If you don't, it'll make Boo very sad. I know a bunch of you who are watching are not subscribed. Join the frenzy. You won't regret it. Thank you, Boo.